Alright guys, so what we're going to be doing tonight is we are going to be creating our plot diagram notes that are going to go into this empty side panel of our STAAR review folder. We're going to be placing this item right up here when we get finished with it. What you're going to need to complete this, guys, is you're going to need your notes. They read the plot diagram. It's on the bright pink paper. You need your regular Elmer's glue. You're going to need a pen or pencil to write with, and you're going to need scissors. Okay. Step one, guys, is to make sure you have a clear open area to work with. What you have on your piece of paper, guys, looks like this. I've already trimmed mine down, so I'm going to go ahead and give everybody about 10 seconds to do that. You're going to cut on that solid line that outlined your diagram. This piece needs to go into the recycle bin when you're done with it. Okay. And when we're talking about the plot diagram, guys, this is an item that goes out. Go get dressed. This is an item that is going to go with a fictional story. Fictional stories are fake stories. These are narrative stories. Many of the stories that we read in class usually are these. The storyline for a TV program or a movie can also follow this. Your graphic novels can follow this, and some narrative poems can also be following this. It's going to start with the exposition, which leads into the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and then the resolution or the conclusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each of these 5 areas so you can fill in your notes. Okay. So step number 1 says the exposition. This is the start of the story. This is where you're going to find your conflict and your main characters and the setting. Once these items are introduced, we're going to move into the rising action. This is where your conflicts or conflict starts to gain tension. Everything in this section is starting to build up. And once the rising action of a story has been laid down, you're going to find the climax. This is going to be the turning point of your novel or your text. Something changes. Something changes here. Most people think that this is usually the most exciting part of a story, and I would probably agree with that. Okay. Okay, so once the climax has been established and something has changed within your story, that's where the story starts to wrap up. This is going to be the following action. The falling action. Everything in your story begins to wrap up. Your characters like tie up loose ends. And then, obviously, every story comes to an end. At that time, we're going to have the resolution. Some people also call this the conclusion of a story. This is obviously where everything ends. So, stop talking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over these items for you just one more time. The exposition, guys, this is where the setting, the conflict, and the characters are introduced. This is the beginning of a story. After these things are introduced, we can move into the rising action. This is going to be where the conflicts start to gain tension and everything in your story starts to build up. Things get more exciting. Okay? Once this happens, the story has to come to a high point or a turning point in the story. Something changes during the climax. Remember that. Something changes. It's the turning point. The next item we have, guys, is going to be the falling action. This is where everything starts to get tied up and your characters start like kind of tying up everything. Everything starts to be figured out. And then last but not least is going to be your resolution or your conclusion, guys. This is where the story ends, where all of your questions are usually answered. Sometimes we don't get the ending that we like, but the ending is still an ending, and that's what we call the resolution or the conclusion. Okay, that is what we have for the plot diagram. Make sure that your notes are filled in accordingly before you start gluing this down onto your panel. What you're going to do, guys, you're going to take your panel, just like this. Your name tag is over here. You're going to glue this into this section right here. It will be folded, so don't try and shove it on there. Okay, you're going to take it. You're going to fold it in half. And you're going to glue it right here at this top portion, just like this. So when you open it, it opens like a book that is laying on top of your panel. I'm going to give you a second to do that while I glue mine as well. And remember, you do not need a lot of glue if you're using the liquid glue. It will stick. Okay, so just like that. So when you open it, remember, it's going to open like a book on top of your STAAR folder.